Here is the best way to prepare super crispy bricks without frying, with an original filling idea. We will need 2 large leeks. We'll start by cutting them in half so we can clean them well inside. Then we'll cut them into small pieces. In a pan, heat up some olive oil. Add our small pieces of leek along with 3 chopped garlic cloves and saute everything until the leek is nicely caramelized. Meanwhile, I cut 100 grams of mushrooms into very small pieces. As you can see, I finely chop them with a knife. Once the leeks are nice and tender and starting to caramelize well, I add the small pieces of mushrooms and continue cooking, stirring regularly. At the same time, I take 500 grams of chicken breast and cut it into very small cubes. If you cut pieces of chicken that are too big, it really won't be practical to put them in the pastry sheets, so you should cut the pieces as small as possible. After about 5 minutes of sautéing the mushrooms with the leeks, I add the small cubes of chicken. Then I season with salt, pepper, and herbes de Provence. I also add some smoked paprika. And I mix everything well. Of course, you can use the spices and seasonings of your choice. Then I took some pitted olives, 80 grams, which I sliced into thin rounds. Before chopping them, I finely chop a bunch of fresh parsley. You can substitute with cilantro if you prefer. We're going to cook the chicken, stirring regularly for 10 to 15 minutes until it's well cooked. At the end of cooking, we'll add the olives and mix everything well. I know there are a lot of people who don't really like olives. If that's your case, you can of course skip them. Next, to get a nice little sauce, add 50 ml of heavy cream, 2 slices of cheddar, and a good big handful of grated Parmesan. All that's left is to mix well to melt the cheese and finish by adding the chopped parsley. We stir everything together and the filling is ready. We're going to let it cool down well on the side before we can shape our pastries. If the filling is too hot, it might tear the pastry sheets. Next, we're going to cut our pastry sheets in half. We're going to fold the edge. Like this, we put a little bit of filling underneath and we start folding like this to form the famous little triangle. At the end, if you have edges sticking out, don't hesitate to trim them a little with scissors. To be able to tuck them in more easily when folding, don't hesitate to press your pastry tightly as you fold it, but not too much to avoid tearing it. Next, I chose to cook without frying, which is much less greasy, but gives the same results. So it's going to be in the air fryer. If you don't have an air fryer, don't worry, you can get the same results. In the oven, so we're going to brush a little bit of butter on our pastries and bake them for about 12 minutes at 200 degrees. Feel free to flip them halfway through baking so they're nice and golden and crispy on both sides. I hope you enjoyed the recipe. See you soon!